Do you enjoy RPGs? Take a look at the RPGaDay questions and chime in with your thoughts. Good day. Then welcome to day 14, question 14 of RPGaDay for 2017. Today's question asks us about role-playing games that we might recommend for open-ended campaign play. And open-ended campaign play, what we're really talking about is you arrange the campaign, you start to play the campaign, and there's never any plan for this campaign to end. There's not a set number of sessions. You're not running through prepackaged material per se. It's a game world that you have put in motion and you intend to stay in motion for as long as you plan to game there. Open-ended campaign play. What role-playing game system would you recommend to best support that environment of play? There are lots of answers, but depending on your experience and the way that you and your group conduct yourselves, which ones do you find work a little better? Which ones would you recommend? Now, yesterday my answer was a little bit on the vague side, not much in the way of specifics, although it was important to me. So today I'm going to give two answers instead of just one, and they're both games that I play a lot. And open-ended campaign play is really my default way of thinking about pretty much anything when I set down to start up with a new group and we're going to play a game. That's what I'm thinking, and often I have to modulate my expectations away from that because of adult responsibilities and whatnot. But ideally, things will turn out this way. The Star Wars game that we started more than 3 years ago has gone this route. And things like the various games I've started up using Mithras, the game formerly known as RuneQuest 6, are similarly designed with this in mind. So I've already given you the names of what I'm going to talk about in this video. Star Wars and Mithras. Star Wars is pretty handy for open-ended campaign play simply because it's something that you can leap into very quickly and make pretty strong connections to. Character creation is relatively quick. It's very easy to do it collaboratively. And the burden on the player is vastly reduced. So when the fires of creation and fires of inspiration are really hot, take the game down, quickly make characters start to play, get involved in some memorable hijinks, and then the campaign is pretty much started off on its own. And you really only need a great beginning to have an ongoing campaign. What else is there great about it? Well, Star Wars is one of those games that can function really well just from the core book. So if you are a very creative game master who likes to do a lot of their own homebrewing and creation, with the core book, you can just go and you can create all the rest. It's a solid template to get your feet wet and then continue to move. But if that doesn't describe you and you still want to go for this experience, there is a lot of very organized, high-quality support material for you to obtain as you need it. If you're unsure how to represent certain character types in play or certain types of worlds or certain relationships between organizations, there's stuff there to get you going. So rather than having to build your own from the ground up, you can extend from the published material. So both options are available, which makes this pretty handy. So for these reasons, I find that Star Wars is a great game to decide to play and then just never stop playing. Mithras is another such example, but it's a pretty different experience. Character creation, for example, is something that you would sit down and collaborate with the other players, but the system itself collaborates with you in the way that you move step by step through character creation. You are being inspired step by step in building the total package of the character, particularly in the way they connect to the setting. I find this is really exciting, and I'm already champing at the bit to play every time I sit down to make a character in the system. And there are a lot of settings available, a variety of different fantasy settings, but there's also science fiction and futuristic settings. Plus, this is a D100 game. It's one of the oldest and least changing systems in the history of role-playing games. If you can't find, and that's a little hard to imagine, but if you can't find what you're looking for published for Mithras, there is a D100 based supplement out there from some other publisher that you can take and figure out how to include to inspire you. Or you can look at how the system works and design it yourself, depending on your own proclivities and talents, of course. That's what I love about the game. Plus, speaking as a player, there are few systems that provide you with as much information as this does. You have a high level of situational awareness and control over what you want to do. And the game usually operates in a very moment-by-moment way, so that from combat through to negotiation, you as the player are deeply involved in all the minutiae, which gives each session a lot of content, a lot of material, and a lot of impact on the character to explore. And that is exactly the sort of foundation on which you can build an open-ended campaign. Plus, with both of these games, Star Wars and Mithras, the rates of progression are left pretty much in the hands of the group. It will naturally be a stately pace if you follow what's printed as guidelines in the book, can be accelerated, or it can be slowed down. But what's ideal about these two systems for open-ended play is that the sweet spot, that point where the characters operate in a really satisfying way, is very, very long. Once you're in it, the characters stay in it for a long time, and even coming out the other end, the system and the way it affects your expectations of play doesn't significantly change. It's not like some systems where there is a jump from everything is a threat to only specific things are threats to nothing is a threat kind of example. Doesn't really take place. It's a nice, consistent experience all the way through. Challenges which were hard are going to stay hard. You just have more options with which to approach them. Situations which were not remain not. But there's always that little bit of possibility, that lurking threat that life likes to bring along with it. So for these reasons, I recommend these two games, Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars and Mithras by the Design Mechanism. What would you recommend? Check out other responses. Do a search for the hashtag RPGaDay.